Yo, what's going on, man? I am so excited for this live because I have not done one in a minute. And I'm actually going to be co-hosting this one with somebody else very special to me. Let's go ahead and see if I can add her in, invite to join. Excuse me. See if we're going to start seeing the people come in soon. There we go. Invite. Dang, we already got 5 people in here. I guess y'all been waiting for me to go live. Welcome in, everyone. People coming in right now. Like I said, I'm going live right now. Yes, there she is already. So I was just telling everybody why I'm going live because they haven't seen me in a minute. Everybody's like, yo, where has Marlon been? So we finna get all into it right now. So first of all, this live, I actually titled it The Importance of Finding Your Coach. I wanted to talk about this because this is something that I've had a whole epiphany moment on for like the past couple of years. And I think this is something that I wanted a lot of people to learn from. So they said none other to go to have this conversation with than my coach herself. This is credit coach Leah, coach or credit coach. I'm glad to be going live with you right now. And I think this is going to be a very good conversation that we're going to have because I really want to unpack, first of all, to introduce yourself to the people. And then more importantly, to talk about what you like, the role that you have played in my life for the past 7 months. So I really want to share that conversation with everybody because a lot of people, like I said, have been wondering where's Marlon been. I ain't been seeing no content. He ain't been in the morning meetup. Like this dude is off the grid right now. So this is gonna be like the welcome back live right now, and I just want to like pretty much let everybody else know what's been going on. So please, I'm gonna step off and let you introduce yourself. Who are you, man? Why are you on the live right now with me?
I thank you for that intro. So first disclaimer, guys. Yeah, it's my fault. He disappeared. It's like that. That boot camp right before you enter the army. It's like you go in and like you saying goodbye to everybody, and then next thing you don't come back. What happened to you? I was in boot camp.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So I am Alleah Erica, also known as Cultured Credit Coach, and I am a structurist and strategist, and my goal is really, though it's in my name as Cultured Credit Coach, that's kind of just to get people into the conversation. But once they get into the conversation, we then expand on the whole entire, it's like how I get you in.
No, seriously.
So everyone's like, wait, you credit coach? Like, no, that's just a little marketing ploy. But yeah, my name is Alleah Erica, and my principal focus is to really level up business owners. My passion back in 2020 when I realized I was like, I really want to make a difference in small business owners, especially small minorities and Black-owned businesses. And I decided that I wanted to create a table. There's a lot of tables we're excluded from, and I ultimately was like, you know what? I'm going to create my table of investors that literally want to not only do deals with me, but trust my work ethic and trust my actual capacity to level them up. And so I have been on the mission to like build my table. Ultimately, in my goal to support small business owners, it's kind of like life coaching with business coaching and, an added side of mac and cheese, So it's literally, and a side of a rocket with some propane.
Lord, no, don't talk about the rocket. We're going to get to all that.
So that is me in a nutshell. If you look at my post on a Cultured Credit Coach, it's not plentiful for a reason. And one of them, you see a little kid going down a slide and like going down wildly. And it really kept, my team was like coaching with Alleah. And I was like, yeah, that seems about right.
Right. Yeah, no, I will say this past 7 months has been like one of the greatest journeys that I've been on because I've had a whole level of personal development, and I really wanted to like take it back to like when we first got started. So back when I first I guess even heard about you, I was talking to another guy because I was actually actively looking for what's called a joint venture contract back at that time, and I just for the life of me could not figure out how to create a deal to where I could be able to connect, where I would be able to like get partners to like partner with me for like different car deals for my rental cars. I wanted people to start giving me cars, but I needed a contract in place to be able to do that. And I was kept on asking people, and nobody had one. And somebody just so happened to recommend, hey, you should ask Credit Coach Leah about it. She might have one for you. So I reached out he gave me your number. I reached out to you, and before I knew it, we were on the phone for like 3 hours, but still didn't get the contract though. And I was like, yo, I don't have a contract, but that call was very impactful, and I wanted you to share that overall story, because your take on it, I feel like would be much better than mine, just because I don't know what you heard from my story or what made you see this as an opportunity to work with me, or like to like bring me under, but something that I said might have triggered you. So I'm curious to know, like, how did that come about?
So I'm a researcher, like real quick. So it's like you talk to me, I'm on Google the next minute, and I'm talking to Marlon, and I'm like, well, what do you do? Tell me about you, And this goes back to just my nature. When it comes to like my first book ever on self-improvement and business development was Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always important to like, what's your story? Tell me what's going on. Why do you need this? And so as I'm going through all of this, I find out that he's a co-podcast host for Money Monopolizers, and I go and look, and I was like, what are you calling me for? Like, you got the number one person that is in your, you know the guy that could get you something. What do you call it? So I looked at it and I was like, there's a reason why all roads that you've had with all the people you met led to you to me today right now. Like, and it was just the fact that realizing where he was in his business, there's a reason why all the amazing mentors that he had known that had not been what he needed. Though they have been connections to him, it was just like, okay, so let's talk about how we connected. And shout out to Tone.
Tone.
He definitely was the key factor, because it's crazy, because I was like, Tone recommended you to me, but I was looking for the JV. I don't got one, because I would have sent it to him. And so I'm like, okay, well, all right, well, let me go ahead. And I always, and the other part to me is, if we never speak again, I would have deposited things and information into your journey to then take you to the next level. And so with him having, a plethora of amazing connects and resources, I was like, you know what? How do you capitalize? How do you take advantage of the connections you have while growing their operations, adding value and receiving value at the same time? Because even though you've interviewed these amazing individuals,
right,
you still are lacking yourself. And when it comes to your business structure, how come you're missing all of these stuff? Well, you got people over here with this information. Okay, all right, cool. I'll do it. So ultimately, when it came down to analyzing, and this goes for anyone, but analyzing your recipe, right? You've got ketchup and mustard over here, and you got hot dogs over here, but you just haven't figured out that you can make a real nice gourmet meal. So I take your variables and I put them together to kind of shine a different light on them. And the 3-hour conversation was epiphanies all around, because it was just like highlighting stuff he already knew. It wasn't anything that I was like, this is new to you, let me go ahead and drop this nugget. I'm like, well, okay, wait. Let me ask you this question. And just the formation of the question was like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Or I've had this whole time and I didn't even, what? So it was a lot of that in that 3-hour conversation of me highlighting. And I'm also a good people reader. So I was definitely reading like, okay, you want this one thing, but you got to get here, and you want 50 cards. No, you wanted 100 cards. But then you got to, okay, wait, all right, let's. And so after that, he had to and Papa Walls let us know, we call him Dad. I call him Dad. Everyone else my son calls him Uncle Dad. So we literally were like, we got to talk to Dad in regards to, him finding the value, because again, it's an investment of the time that I will spend with them. I will tell you, that 3 hour conversation was not the only one. we,
Don't put a
we,
tab on how many hours we spent speaking. Now it's been far too many. It's been far too many for sure.
I think I gave you back some money because I was giving like each. It was all calls are recorded except that one, and it literally is like I can't go back and listen to 3 hours of call. I'm like I'll try to keep them short. So
No, that's a fact about it for sure. And bro, it was very hard for me to like. I wanted to convince him so much. I like. I don't even know what she's gonna do for us. To be honest, I just know that this conversation was good, and I really think we should move forward. Like it was just my gut instinct saying we should go with this because I never have felt like I was like moving in the right direction towards like because I knew for a fact that I was the visionary for my company as far as how we can move it forward. The problem is that what I lacked was the actual vision. I compared a lot of things to the E-Myth. The E-Myth is a book written by Michael E. Gerber that talks about the three different types, well, three different personalities that an entrepreneur will have. The entrepreneur, the actual mentality of the entrepreneur is like the visionary, person that can see things that are not currently present. Then there's a manager. That's the person that can really operate, that can like regulate the business very well, make sure that the people are put in place to be able to be successful. And then there's the technician, the person that does all the physical labor in the business. Those are the three parts of the entrepreneur that they need in order to be successful. I would always consider myself really good in the managerial space, very good manager, and then I also had a lot of technician skills. But the entrepreneur was lacking. So this is a prime example of somebody who does need a coach. I think everybody should have a coach, a mentor, or somebody that they look up to be able to continue to grow. Because if you don't have anybody that you're looking up to, you can't grow yourself. You may teach everybody else, but you can't grow yourself. So everybody, I do believe, needs to have somebody that they can learn from. And I think this was the perfect thing for me because I needed to uplevel myself to where I got my business structure in order, to where I started having systems within my business to where I knew how to run a team. All of these things were things that I knew I was missing. And so hearing this conversation with you, like back when we had a 3 hour conversation, I was like, she can fill a lot of these holes that are in my business. I can get those filled. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but I do believe that this is moving in the right direction. And so, of course, there's going to be an investment, and I really want to make that investment because I rather spend money on something that's going to grow us rather than something that is going to be like just a reoccurring cost in the business that really has no financial gain moving forward. And so that was like my key. I'm taking this step. I see this as something that can really help us moving forward. And that's why we ultimately end up working with you. I think we started December 4th of last year. And it's been a journey ever since. And I really want to, so the crazy thing is that you always recommend to people certain books to read when they start working with you. And there's one in particular that was the entire theme of everything as far as working with you. Just yes, when you work with credit coach Leah, you need to read this one book because of the fact of how she moves, the pace that she moves at, and it was second to none as far as just the epitome of who you are. I think I'll let you say it.
So I am a reader. I'm a researcher.
For
It's
sure.
crazy. What? How you giving away my book, Josh?
Right. Jaws in here just
You on
excited.
this live. So, by the way, Ja is actually a pivotal supporter of this connection, and has
Most
been a
definitely.
great asset to my organization. And so every person needs a different book. And I always believe
You
this. It's
do
just
great
like
with that too.
people always talk about, oh, you have to go to Harvard or Yale or Ithaca. No, no, no. You actually could go to any of them and they will fit you, but you have to find the one that fits you. The same with the books. There are tons of entrepreneurial and enterprise building books out there. Hey, Duran. And oh, hey, Carlos.
Yeah, I'm about to
And
say the team is here. They showing
I was
up for
like,
sure.
they showing up. Love
Right.
it, love it.
And it's like
So
2 a.m. over there too. It's crazy. They still showing up.
yeah, it is late. You guys make sure you have your popcorn. And so it comes to the fact that if you know your actual coachee, or as what I like to call them, because and I'll mention that in just a short bit. when you know your coachee and you know what they need, you're not gonna, recommend Dream Big and other books that they already have the mindset for.
Mm-hmm.
If he already understands the concept of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and mentality, I ain't gonna recommend, that book. But, he may need another book in that series. Or I notice he's not getting things done right away, right fast. We've got to put you on a timing thing. He mentioned E-Myth. Some people are really still technicians and they're having this entrepreneurial seizure. Some people are really in the space of, I really want to reach out and connect to my clients. I don't know how. Okay, Build Your Brand Story by Donald Miller. And so there's tons of books that will really support each person, but it's also having the coach that knows, you know what? You good on this layup, but you got to work on your dribble. So here's the key point that you need, versus me taking this blanket mentality and be like, well, everybody needs to work on their dribble. No, they don't. And so when it comes down to the recommendations of the books, I was like, no, my coaching program is very short for a reason. I want you to see results and I want you to see them fast.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do I want you to see them fast, but I want you to keep that progression going. Why have this year long of coaching where it's like, oh my God, you can see results in 12 weeks rather than seeing them in 52. Like, that's a long time. Like, you can do a whole lot more in those 40 weeks, right? And so my goal is for you to see the results, see a progression, see a change. And I always said to Marlon, I said, when you graduate from your coaching, you should be ready for your next coach. And he's an epitome of the fact that, like, he trusted me and the torpedo that I put him on with the propane fuel attached to it so it can keep going. And so he did that. And it's so crazy because even a whole 7 months later, it feels like a long time because of just the statement of time. But it feels like he just started, but I've seen the tremendous growth over the 7 months where it's like, man, oh my God, you so like, oh my goodness. And I said it, you are ready for your next coach. And I'm really hoping his next coach is who I think it is. He gonna level up to a whole nother level, and I'm gonna just be like, I'm gonna see him in a club, and I'll be like, you see, I knew what he was doing.
No, and so with everything you just said, like, first of all, she ain't actually mentioned the book. I got to mention that it's 12-week year. Who is the author again for me?
So it's Michael Lennington and Brian. I always forget his
Brian Moran. I remember Brian Moran,
yes.
Michael Lennington. So 12-week year. That was the initial book that you had me read. I think I read it super quick because I thought I didn't realize you were gonna give me another one right after. That set the tone for me. I was like, oh shoot, hold on. Like I just read through it. Like, okay, I did it. Like I'm doing my homework assignment. Oh, you did? Okay, I got 2 more for you. Oh, hold on.
And that was another thing. You was not expecting homework. I was like, a lot of people out here be coaching and they be like, wait, hold on, wait, you got me doing a lot. Wait, what homework?
Yes. So that was a bit of a shock for me in the beginning because I kept on thinking, okay, I have the rental car business, I do coaching myself, I do content, and now I got to add this layer in. Like, okay, I got to get my mentality right. And so that's where I want to talk about that too, because like you said, I think one thing that you have as a serious gift is being able to being a good listener, first of all. Listening to what somebody's currently going through. I think that's a real important thing for any coach to have, is to listen to their coachee, like you call them. Listen to what that person's current situation is and how can you help them out, rather than having a certain program and then everybody goes through the same program, because everybody doesn't need the same program. Everybody maybe have similarities, but everybody is also different on their own journey. And so you are the missing piece that they need to get to their next step in their journey. And your job is just to connect them to the right things, which is why I call you the connector, because you always, like, that's one of your gifts, is that you have seen so many different things that once you hear a certain problem, you immediately think of a solution that you've seen before somewhere else. And you bring those two together to make something way better than what either part could have been separate, whether it's 2 people, whether it's a software, whether it's some type of component, you bring that to the person, or a book, anything that person needs to add to their journey to be able to up-level themselves. I think that's something that you do very, very well. And so my question now becomes, because I know I've gotten labeled as a few things inside of your program. I'm trying to figure out, what do you see in different, so because I'm thinking, I guess I'm going to reframe it first of all. I titled this "The Importance of Finding Your Coach," and I think at the same time you have to be ready for a coach too, because not everybody is willing to listen to what the coaches is telling them to do. So, what do you see between somebody who is coachable versus somebody who is not? What type of things do you see within those coachees to let you know that they're somebody that you're willing to invest more time into because you see where they're going and where they're headed?
So the one part that we do when we started out was creating your roadmap. And one of the things that I do with everybody is, though you may understand you need business credit and you need business financing and funding and things of that nature, there's still the principle and the ideology of the actual business. Like, what are you doing that's going to supersede time? Like, we have the fundamental elements where you determine your vision, mission, your values, your strategic and your tactical objectives. And when I sit here and I watch, like, giving you the opportunity to be creative, that's the other part as an entrepreneur. Many of entrepreneurs are very like, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to make it happen and I'm going to hustle. And I'm like, okay, how long is this hustle going to last? You know,
Don't burn
like,
out. Sound like.
right. It's a huge burnout. And it's like 20 years from now, are you still going to be hustling the same way? And so the roadmap actually helps us understand where people want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I show you the framework, and then you have homework. Go ahead and finish it, right? And so the difference that I see between a coachee who's ready for coaching and the coachee who is absolutely not ready for coaching is the energy difference. Mm-hmm. There's an engagement that is okay. The calls are shorter with the coachees that are not ready. The calls are incomplete where they don't come to class with homework. They don't, as it was mentioned during our time, I have a truancy officer who goes out and makes sure you for coaching. I remember Marlon was like, I ain't never get that email. And like one time he's like, oh my God,
I was
got
so mad
email.
today. It's like after a week long of not being in a coaching call, you get the notification automatically like, hey, sign up for your next coaching call. We haven't seen you in a while.
Coach hasn't seen you. What's you doing? We're here, book your next appointment. And it's so funny.
I feel so ashamed.
It was like Thursday, and like it goes out on Thursday, and then I see a whole lot of appointments on Friday. I'm like, Sadie must have sent out the email, and it was so funny. He's like, I got the email. And I was like, well, I haven't seen you. You haven't been to an appointment.
It was literally like 4 months in, though. At the same time, like I've been going consistently, and I think that's one thing in itself is that you have to treat a coach as if you're back in school. Like, even I know you say you're giving out homework, and I think rightfully so, because what a lot of people do, they go through all throughout grade school, they go throughout high school, college, they're always up leveling, but at the same time, you always have somebody in place that's teaching you that to get to the next level. The problem is that when you get into the real world, a lot of people just stagnate. They get into their job, and then I was talking to my barber actually earlier about this exact thing. He said, yeah, man, I've been, like, once I graduated from barber college, I got into this particular shop right here. I've been here for 13 years now. And I'm really tired. I'm really so redundant now, and I'm really not feeling it no more. I don't know what to do. I'm like, I told him the exact thing. I thought about you exactly during this time. I said, you need somebody that you can look up to, or somebody that can teach you how to get to the next level. Because just like in grade school, you kept on up leveling, but you were being forced to up level. You were being forced to go to class, and so it wasn't something that you naturally did on your own. But that's why when you get into coaching, you have to want to up level yourself, because you have to want to go to class. You have to want to get onto the calls every week. You have to want to do the homework, because now you have to really want to up level yourself versus being forced to do so. I think that's one of the key pivotal things that separates one coaching from another is how bad do you want to up level yourself. And that was big for me, because I knew that I knew all I was missing was the right information between where I was currently at versus where I wanted to get to. And I feel like you had a vast knowledge, a vast array of it.
And that's too, is commending you and recognition, because some people don't, as your barber, they don't recognize that they need to up level. They,
Mm-hmm.
they feel like, oh, I've gotten to the point where, oh yeah, I got my own business. And it's like, no, like you have to actually finish the quadrants. And I know Marlon and I talk heavily about the cash flow quadrants of many of us being entrepreneur employees that then, we move into the self-employed and we stick there for a minute.
A long
And
time.
very few people actually level up and get a team, then become a business owner where they have the team and systems and processes and they're putting that together. But then they're like, oh, well, I'm still in the business. And it's like, no, now you got your barbers, or you have your staff, or you have people that are helping you run your business. But then what's next? The next part is the I. The I is actually you turning around and leaving your business, like
Mm-hmm.
not being a part of it, like firing yourself and
Facts.
being the investor. And so it comes to the fact that you have to recognize where it's like, I know that there is more. I know that, because then when you know that there is more, then you actually will. And I believe in the law of attraction and manifesting and bringing things and people into your sphere that you need. And so it comes to the fact that it will start to align you. It will start to put you in place where it's like, how the heck did you get here asking for a contract and you talking about your resources you already had? Because I think one of his episodes, he actually was interviewing a high key member that had a whole legal squad behind him, and I was like,
Yes.
I don't. So I'm like, wait, I don't. But at the same time, it comes to the fact that when you're a coach, and that's the other part. Earlier, I mentioned the coachee. Why I call them coachees is because of that actual quadrant. You're an employee or you're self-employed.
Mm.
I want you to drop those E's, and I want you
Yes,
to
I remember
start
that.
teaching. I want you to start educating. I want you to bootstrap people. I want you to bring people along for the ride, because you've dropped those E's and now you can focus on educating people to do better or do more than you. And
Mm-hmm.
so it makes great pride to me. And I can't show you my goosebumps at the moment, but I'm telling you, when he tells me that he goes out and he takes what he's actually learned from our coaching, that's what's making the difference. That's what's actually creating my legacy of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I've given you information. You've now known how. I'm not feeding you, right? I'm not giving you the fish and you're like, oh, well, go talk to the coach. No, no, no. You now can have the conversation of telling them where they need to go, how they need to get there, because of the tools that you were provided. And now you can take those tools and start to help people build their tools. And that's where I don't have to coach the world, but I have you
That's
who
big.
now drop those E's and you become a coach to now help other people be their better selves. And they may not even meet me. But at the same time, that residual effect of consistency, of accountability, of coaching and education and strategic planning, those are really what's going to help small business owners, instead of what we find on the internet of like oversaturation of information and guidance, right? And so, yes, it makes me super proud you having conversations and I'm not even there. And I'm like, oh, I was there, but I wasn't
Yeah.
there.
No, you were there in thought for sure. Like you were an inspiration behind what I was saying. Now, I think I love that you even said that about the calling everybody a coachee. I always thought that was very unique from the very beginning, because that means you always intended for this person that you're training right now to one day drop those E's and become a coach. And those E's represent that employee, that self-employed mentality. Drop that mentality altogether. That's dropping that's shedding a layer almost. Is what I compare it to. You're shedding a old layer that you used to identify with, and now you're stepping up into a higher role. So now you can. And what I consider it more so like as a coach, that's also like a leader. That's the person that's going to help you elevate yourself to the next level. That comes in multiple forms too. That comes, one, to other people, helping them up level themselves in their business, like you, that's a more traditional coach. But I think another thing that I really saw a lot of is working with even within your own company. Like your company, you can upload, like you need to start, that's what the business owner is. You start bringing in other people, and now you can uplevel them at the same time, because now you have more leadership qualities as opposed to just coaching other people. You can you can help your own personal team uplevel themselves to be the best version of themselves as well. And now you know how to run a team as opposed to doing everything yourself. You're shedding a lot when you transition from those two E's. And I think that's one thing that I really experienced from beginning to the end now is seeing that entire transformation unfold. Because Lord, I I think I was very hard headed in the beginning. And I
I
just
didn't
want to
say
say,
it. He did. I didn't. You know, it didn't come out my lips.
I gotta say that from my own self. I was very hard headed in the beginning because I hadn't shared those two E's yet. I was just credit to that. If now you see in real time what it looks like when somebody hasn't shared that, when somebody still has those E's attached to them and they holding on for dear life. I gotta hold on to my E's because that
You're
was
not the only one. A lot of people
oh yeah.
do. It's a sense of identity, and we talked about this too. Is that how people identify with the roles that they actually want
Mm-hmm.
is also how their ability to even vision a new identity. And
Yeah.
that's another part too of why there was resistance. It was like, I think you're ready. No, I'm not. Yeah, no, you're ready. Okay, well, okay, you're not ready. Then well, let me know, and I'll tell you. I big told you so later. So,
Now I will applaud that too. For as a coach, even though you had us on the rocket, you also had to have patience at the same time, knowing that there's potential there, but they have to see it within themselves. Like you can see it, but it doesn't even matter if that coachee can't see it for themselves, because essentially they're going to come around on their own time. And once they finally do, you just say, you can say, "I told you so." Of course, but you still had that proud moment, like I knew you had it in you. It's just like I had to finally wait till it came out of you. So I do appreciate that part, and I think going back to like January, February time, all I kept thinking about was I got to get my contract. I got to get my contract together so I can get these cars. And I had this whole game plan in my mind. And all of a sudden in March, cars came in the floodgates and opened up. And then I said, "Oh, this is what she was talking about." So to talk in English to our audience, um, at that moment, so back in January, February time, like I said, when I first started coaching with you, my goal was to get a JV contract. That contract was a JV joint venture, is what it stands for. That way I can start partnering with other people to start having them bring us their cars so we can continue to uplevel our fleet. The problem is that I didn't have a contract already in place, but I had people that were interested. And so my goal was like, I need to get a contract first. You were telling me, well, you need to be getting a team together. You need to make sure your business credit is together so you can continue to uplevel yourself. And I'm like, nah, one thing at a time. I need to get this contract. That's the most important thing. Then I get more cars. I worry about the rest later. And she's like, well, what you gonna do to get the cars?
Was the turkey.
Yeah, so we reference that as the turkey. The turkey cooks slow, but at the same time, you still got the yams you could be making. You got the greens you could be making. Like if you're making a Thanksgiving dinner, you got so many different components you could be working on to have a full course dinner when it's all said and done. When the turkey come out, you already have everything else laid out, ready to all be ate together. But in reality, I said all the sides can wait. I'm worried about this turkey. So what happens in March? March comes around, and my dad actually ends up going out of town. He goes out of town for about a week because every week, every year he goes out of town with his guys group to like for a golf outing, and it's about a week long. It was spring break every year. Same week, I just so happened to get about 10 cars that come in from our partners because we finally got the contract together. And I then realized that was my big epiphany moment that said, "You are a big dummy." You've been getting beaten, your head's been getting beat in for the longest about get a team. My problem is that the lack of belief of what was actually to come. And so I wasn't ready for the team because I didn't see the money already that was going to be able to pay for them. But now my whole philosophy shifted that day and said, you need to, if you know that you're about to grow, you see the vision for growth, you need to have that belief that you're going to be able to pay for that team with the extra income you're about to go after. So get the team in place now. That way you can have the infrastructure in place. You can have the training in place because now I got to train them as the fire is already started. Like cars are going in and out. Like, okay, well, y'all about to get some good hands-on training because we got to go. Come on, we getting hands-on. So like we pretty much tripled our fleet size within that 1 month alone. And it's like a dumpster fire because now I'm like, I need somebody now because I already got the cars and I haven't even started hiring yet. I didn't even put out a flyer yet for somebody to be hired. So All
And
those
that
my
part you didn't even recognize as like when I saw it for you, I'm like, I've already been through this hiring process where I need somebody tomorrow. It may take me 3 weeks to get that person, or it may even
facts.
take me a month or two. Like even just to find job, literally that was 3 months of
Whew.
me going through people, and I was like, Marlon, don't wait, and it was the
Yeah,
fact that when people don't understand the other parts of being a business owner, they still see themselves doing everything. And I was so
facts.
grateful for that weekend. I was so grateful for
I
that
know
weekend.
you was too.
Because he called me and I was like, how's everything going?
Nah.
Right? I was like, you good? You still alive? And it was more so like, you doing it. I'm so proud of you, baby. You go ahead. And it was funny to me at the fact that when you see when someone's learning real time,
Hmm.
something that you prevent, but they're taking it with stride. I was like, man, you doing great. He didn't break down. He was just like, man, I ain't doing this again. And I was just like, that's great. I don't want you to. And sometimes it comes to the fact that no matter, even as a coach, as he mentioned, that you having the patience, as a coach, there's only but so much you can do to say, hey, let's avoid this obstacle. And it's just more so like, okay, you want to go with it? I'm with you. I'll just call, check in on you, see how I gotta, pump you some propane fuel to keep it going. But at the same time, watching that weekend, and it was just like, no, I need somebody. And it was just like, okay, that's great. And it was appreciative because, it also shed light on him learning things later on, at the fact that, like, even if something came to him, he took less of a processing and rejection and more of a like, okay, I think I need this. And it was
Yeah.
it was like, okay, it just took that one moment. All right, good. Now, like, you trust me? All right, let's do this. And so I definitely, like I said, because he could have definitely shown a lack of, disinterest, or he could have, and this comes back to the question of like, how do you know the difference between someone who really needs it
Hmm.
versus someone who's not ready for it? And so that evolution was like, okay, I heard what you said, proof and case.
Yes. Now I just want to highlight this point too. This is why I want to go back to saying the original title, the importance of having a coach. This was so important because even though I didn't take action on what you had said before about going ahead and getting the team started up, getting the job descriptions out there, getting the job listings out there, going to get ready to hire, I heard everything. It was a seed that was already planted. So once I saw that the need was there, as far as like it was an immediate need, now I had something to fall back to. The problem with a lot of people is that they don't have anything to fall back to. So when they start scaling their workload in their business, all they think is, oh, I can't do everything, so I have too much work. I need to scale down my work a little bit. I need to scale down how much income I'm bringing in, so that way I don't have to deliver as much. I've seen it happen actually within my family. Like actually, my mom and my auntie, they both do like a network marketing business, and they were doing like different challenges to where they would need to like hit a certain sales quota for the month, or like hit a certain amount of items sold in a month. So they would go live like every day, and or multiple times in a day. It's cool going live. The problem is if after live you have to do the fulfillment, where like the fulfillment of all the orders. And what my auntie found is that as she went live more often, she had more clients coming in, which means that she had to fulfill more and more orders. And so you have two options from there. You can either
Stop going
uh,
live.
yeah, you can either capitalize on it and keep on moving forward, meaning and see that you can up level, like you have the ability to up level, but you need a team around you. Or you can say, oh no, this is way too much for me. I'm gonna go ahead and scale back. That's out of my comfort zone. I got too much work to do. I can't see myself doing that much. That's what she ended up doing. But why? Because she didn't have anybody in her ear previously that says this is the way to scale yourself and not have to scale your business while you having to scale your workload at the same time. That's what I think was the pivotal thing for me, is now having that experience of hearing it before. Now it came back to light at the right time where I saw I was ready to receive what you were saying all along.
That's actually really important, is that coaching is also seed sowing.
Yes.
Because as I mentioned to you, some of the stuff you may see and you don't see the connection just yet. And then, later on in the process, it's like, okay, Because I would honestly say, as a coach, that's my number one thing, is like, I don't want you to be working on your business or in it for, you know, an extensive amount of time. You need to develop your systems. And Marlon is really good at, you know, him, and he and I both agree we are good balance of coach and coachee, to the point where he has skill sets that I'm like, no, let's go. But him is like, you know, he's got a plan, and he's got a, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, let's balance this out. How about you go halfway, and then you can, you know, do that along the way. But it's a fact of like understanding, you know, even where he's at. And that's why I say this was a mutual growth, because as a coach, it's not, I don't end all be all know everything. I don't. But it's also understanding there are plenty of times in the coaching journey that the coachee becomes the coach to the coach.
Right.
And that is understanding. And I think Jay Phillip mentioned this earlier, is like, you know, the coach, sometimes the coach needs a coach. And I can look back to many times where it was just like, I had stuff within my own organization, and it was our coaching sessions and our conversation that was allowing me to then evolve to helping and supporting my team. And then also being able to, okay, he sowed seeds, and I sowed seeds. And so we both were able to, you know, water those seeds so that when it came time, you know, the seed had been planted for its growth. So it is absolutely key when you're in tune to having your own coach, because now you're going to pick up the things, you're going to pay attention to the things. You may not execute on them, but you're going to notice it in the conversations of coaching sessions and just learning lessons. And so I would definitely say, you know, hands down, this has been such a rewarding experience because of the fact that your willingness to be coached and your willingness to not resist. That's the other part, is like that absorption space, that space to actually gain from the experience, and that willingness. I mean, it makes coaching so much easier, because it's like, okay, cool. And then I think there was a time where we actually had, he had resources, and we considered some other business ventures, and he was willing for that. And I mean, it's definitely still on the table where I'm like, sure. Hey, like, let's, and now that you got this over here, because you did that, you still want to come back over here, because he was, you know, he realized, and he saw the value, and he realized that he could work with his own network to then, you know, create his own a division of that project. And I realized and recognized, it was just like, you know, it's the acceptance of like, yes, nurture me, support me, believe in me. I mean, because he'll tell you, I have the proud mama, I like the proud mama saying all the time, because like, and he'd be like, is there a time when you don't say my name? I'm like, well, you're my coach. Why wouldn't I say your name? Like, it's like, you know, and that's another thing, is like, not only should the coach be proud of you, but the coach should have you as a cavity. It's like you're constantly in the mouthpiece talking, because if I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a coach and nurturing you, then I am to speak you up. I am to put you in those circles that I'm talking about. I am to then bring you to the table, because you are an extension of me. And if what I'm doing is valuable and of value, why wouldn't I bring you to those other tables, so they know who you are by extension, and also by performance in what you're doing. So I think I've redefined what coaching is, in the aspect of making sure the coachee is elevated. It's not all about me. It's all about, you know, where are you going as a business owner? How are you getting there? Are you bringing people along? And am I helping you to next tables for you?
You're right. And I think you hitting on that point about bringing them to the table, that's why you always are a mouthpiece. Because going back to what your original goal was, you said that you want to create a table of the people that you'll be able to have in your circle, that will be able to like go to different rooms with you. So that was always like your initial foundation. So you're looking for what coachee embodies what I'm looking for to be at that table. And so like that's your goal. Ultimate goal is to still bring those certain coachees to that table with you, but you have to identify who those are. And once they start showing more, you start giving more as a result. So you can start putting them in more positions, and the more they continue to perform, the more quote unquote worthy they'll be to sit by your side when you are at those major tables at some point. So you just, it's like a qualifying thing. But you, like, as a coachee, anybody can do it, but you have to want to be uncomfortable. I think that's one of the biggest things. That's one thing I learned, is that most of the conversations that we had, as far as for growth, were uncomfortable. And they're uncomfortable, and this is something that I remember I've heard from like Myron Golden. He said this before. The problem with most people is that they want a different reality doing what they've already been doing. It doesn't work that way. You have to step outside of your comfort zone to be able to have the growth to get to where you want to be. Where you want to be is actually to requires a different level of movement than what you are currently doing. That's why you're where you currently are, because you're doing what you've always been doing. You have to do something different to get to the next level. Most people are not ready to do that something different. For me, I had to get a team of people around me that's going to work in my business while I work on the business. That was uncomfortable in the beginning, because all I could see is myself doing everything until we had enough money to pay for everybody. My thing that I had to learn is that go get the people, and then you let the people help you go get the money, versus the other way around. Same thing with doing those other business ventures that we were referring to. That was uncomfortable, but at the same time, that was going to produce a lot more growth for us as well. And just all the other, every time you presented another idea, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. Why not? Because everything felt uncomfortable. It was outside of what I was already doing. But that actually is where the growth happens, outside of your comfort zone. So I do applaud that, because I'm glad you as a natural entrepreneur always saw different opportunities. I needed to learn that for myself. And so by continuously being around somebody who always saw opportunity, I thought about the one part with the one time we were working at a parking lot. We were working outside of us, like working within a certain parking lot, and they ended up calling me saying, "Hey, we're getting ready to close down within the next week, so you got to get your cars out of here." I was on the phone with you at the time when they called me, and I clicked over to hear that message, and I came back and I said, "Dang, that was a sad thing." He was like, "What happened?" And I said, "The parking lot we've been parking that shut down, or they're getting ready to shut down, so we're not gonna be able to park there no more." What'd you say after that?
I laugh because I'm like, oh God, it's been like a couple of calls like that. So he gets on the call and he was like, "Man, that was some really bad news." I'm like, "What happened?" Like did somebody pass away or something? He's like, "No,
Right.
they closing down the parking lot." I said, "Oh, well, that's great. Did you call and ask him how much the price was? Did you call and see like what's happening with it? Did you let them know?" And I'm like, literally, I go to town on asking questions of like, okay, so if they close it, who's buying it? If they're going out of business, how many days do you have, and can you put in a purchase offer? And then, not to mention, but it catapulted us, because with him wanting a fleet of 100, I was like, this is perfect for you, because it has 100 spaces. And then, not to mention, like, literally right behind it was a lot for sale. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, let's get you some money. But it was the fact that, like, he said it was bad news, and I was like, this is wonderful news. Mm-hmm. And so
I literally came on depressed. I sounded depressed when I came. Like, somebody died. You got a funeral coming up.
He sounded like he lost a puppy, and I was like, "What happened? Like, what's going on?" I was like, "This is not terrible. This is wonderful." And we go digging to even find out, the owner is retiring, and actually, I can't thank Marlon enough, because he sowed a seed that day. Not knowing that future me today would be shopping on there like I'm shopping on Amazon. Like, so I'm like, I'm sitting here looking at Biz Buy Sell.
That was on Biz Buy Sell too. We saw that same property that they had for sale went to Biz Buy Sell. First time I ever saw that particular website, and now you're using it full time. So.
Literally, I was like, but that's why I said, you sowing seeds, I'm sowing seeds, and I'm sitting here like, that's the first time I was introduced to that website.
Yep.
Because we had to go look at the website and the numbers, and I'm like, man, if we would have known, my mentor, then we could have go ahead and like we structured a no deal out of we still can, actually.
That's why I keep on saying the only difference between where you are today and where you want to be is the right information. Because had we had the same information, we might have been able to consult with him. We might have been able to have some more conversations, know how to structure a deal to where it's going to be beneficial for both parties. I mean, there would have been so much. We probably be operating a lot already, to be honest. But the information is the key right there. That's why you have And most people, that's why I said, go back to my the title, the importance of having a coach. There's information that people are using at a higher level. I think about like the life insurance, think about the trust, think about what they move their money. That's nothing more than just having a different level of information. So we're operating by keeping our money in a savings account, or keeping money under our mattress, or spending all the money that we make because we have nothing else to do with it, because we don't have the right information. And so the reason for coaching, or the reason for mentorship, the reason for people that you consult with at a higher level, is because you don't know everything out the gate. And so you always should be seeking growth, even though you're not in school anymore. Like I'm like an eternal learner. I have a strong passion for that now, because I understand the concept of you only grow by surrounding yourself with people who know more than you, or know more than you in a particular subject. That's how you continue to elevate yourself. So that's why I started seeing for yourself. I'm like, me and my dad had conversations before, like, she pours into us so much. Like, we are learning so much, but at the same time, who is she going to be able to continue to pour into her? And that was where we initially had that idea, like, who does she need to have as her coach? So I started answering that question to you, and you had started mentioning, like, oh, I don't know anybody that's doing what I do besides one person. And I was like, that could be the person.
And it's tough. And I'll be honest with you. This is why I couldn't wait for this day for us to have the conversation, because it has been literally like, again, the coach becoming the coach becoming the coachee. And you asking me that question, I remember I'm like outside the dog, and I'm like sitting there, I think I was in class too, and I was like, I'm just really, and I've talked about him before, and I've mentioned him, and I mentioned him to Farron, and I mentioned him to a few other people, and I was literally like, it wasn't until our conversation that it highlighted. And not only that, but you returned the propane to me and put fire under my tail, and was like, how the hell you gonna tell me to go ahead, book these appointments and be on time, and every time you throw me in the trenches, I'm there, and then the moment you tell me that, oh, what you're booking next week, pish tosh, like, you better book this. Like, it was so, I mean, it was roles reversed, like real instant. And I was like, you know what? I can't expect to dish out fire if I can't take it myself. So I was like, all right, let's go ahead. Let me go look at my numbers. All right, cool. I booked the appointment. And so it wasn't until that conversation in that moment where he had been experiencing, not only, because the other part to it is that it didn't stop with Marlon just getting a team, on the grounds team. I've always been like, Marlon, you still are very much so involved in your business. You still need an extension of you where you can, step back even more. Like, you need to, like, you may not be handling the cause, but you're still handling your digital footprint. You need to step back. You need to continue to do that. And so in that aspect, it was through his actual engagement, his responsibility of the task that I assigned him, his completing of the task, all of that, that I literally was like, you know what? I think the next thing you could do is actually, engage with my team. And this was one of those aspects of, like, me as a coach. Now you're coming into my house,
right.
Versus like me being in yours, and I'm sitting on the sofa and like, okay, that's nice over there. That's all right, cool. That smells good. What you cooking? Like,
Right.
But now you're in my house when I'm like, sous chef, executive chef. Okay, order up over here. Make sure you do that. And then like, you shotgun, like, okay, this is how it go. All right. And so now the coach is actually letting you into what makes them a coach, what makes them experiential to you. And now, you've participated in my Monday meetings, with my Monday family meetings. We don't call them staff meetings, but the family meetings, because we actually have a family meal. We actually have networking, team building, team exercises. And he got to participate in those, to see like our executive meeting, to see our staff, their reports and things of that nature. And so now it's like, so many people out here, mentors and coaches, tell you, yeah, go out and get a VA and blah, blah. They don't tell you infrastructure. They don't show you infrastructure. They don't show you exactly the other side of it. Like, it's like, oh, you see these influencers and they look great. They look great because of the people that are behind them. Would you see what's happening with the people behind them? You don't. And so with Marlon, it was just like the next level for him to actually, and I always said it, if any of my coachees actually did go out and get team members, they get an invite to see how I run and how I manage my team. Why? So that they can see firsthand how to actually be influenced to then take that and transfer over to their team and make a lasting team. And so again, it's as a coach, what is going to help my coachee strive to be in the next playing field that's going to take his business and his enterprise to the next level, right? And so if he doesn't know how to manage a team, who's he watching? If he's never been in the space of a digitalpreneur having an actual enterprise of staff, how does he get there? And so it comes to the fact that, like, even when, we sit here and talk about my mentor, that call came because I'm like, yeah, listen, there's problems, it's right here. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm literally able to be vulnerable with him as a coach as well, to let him know the truth of it all. Is that, sometimes people quit. Sometimes people get fired. Sometimes people is like causing drama in the business and you got to squash that. Sometimes you have unproductivity that needs to, like, I don't know how to get to that. I don't know how to, like, how do I do this, And so it comes to the fact that when he recommended me to call my mentor, I was like, yeah, I'm now at that level where I've reached my ceiling, and it's time for me to, like, get my coach, because finding your mentor, finding your coach is pivotal. And I appreciate that, because I've had tearful moments with Marlon, like truthful, like authentic me, like, nah, this is the real authentic part of it, because you don't see that on Instagram. You don't see that in people's mentor circles. You don't see their vulnerability as a business owner. And my business has been thriving, but at the same time, I'm a human, as in, like, I care for my team, but I still need my team to do amazing things, or I still want to level up, but I myself do not have a coach or a mentor, and I'm craving for that experience. I want to be me to someone else. I want someone to be a me to me. Right. And when Marlon is like, who is pouring into Alleah? I'm like, crickets. Like, so, I honor him, because as he has shown light on some of the things that I needed growth and I needed support, it's the same thing. And that's why I said it was such a such a dance of, hey, I'm nurturing you. Oh, you're sowing seeds. Oh, all right, cool. Because now we both actually leveled up in our coaching experience. And I think every coach would really want that, instead of just like, hey, I'm your coach, or hey, this is my coach, or it's actually a relationship that's of nurturement on both sides. Because a coach can always give, but then how does a coach actually be prepared to be better for the next coachee? And that, again, comes from the depositories from the actual coaching collectives.
And I think, first of all, I really want to just say thank you so much, because you mentioned that I got to partake in, like, pretty much coming into your home and getting to see how your entire business was ran on the inside. Because that's one thing I felt a lot, pretty much everybody else on the social media side of things, you don't see anybody saying the how to do the back end stuff, how to run your team, how to build a good team culture, the things that you do inside of the team meetings. Nobody says any of that stuff. They just say, like you said, go hire you a VA and then you can offload all your work onto them. Okay, they'll probably be here for a month or two, because you ain't do anything else but give them all the work you didn't want to do, and you didn't have any company culture built out. You didn't have any vision for your business. You didn't have anything to help them grow as a person. All you did was just say, bring a VA in, because, like, you don't want to do that work. You want to work on your business, not in your business. Like, that's not how you want to. That's not the kind of coach you want to create. But nobody's saying that type of stuff, though. So me being able to come in and actually see, like, I remember you had invited me saying, I know you got the morning meetup, so you can skip the beginning part. We just play the game and stuff. We just do, like, little team building activities, and then you can come in for the actual business side after the morning meetup over. I'm like, nah, I'm coming I need to see the whole thing, because that's the part that's going to keep people in your circle. That's the team building part that most people aren't talking about. That's what's making people stay with you. That's why people love to work for somebody, because of how they treat them. Like that's the intangible piece that most people are missing. That's why I was so grateful that you allowed me to come in and see that, because now, like I said, it's planting seeds. It's nothing but seed planting all over and over and over. So now for my staff here on the ground, for the future staff, for the future virtual staff I'm gonna have, all of that has planted seeds for like how I need to run my business in the future, like how to build a company culture that makes people want to stay with you long term and want to grow within your company, as opposed to hiring a VA here, hiring a contractor here to do this job and then offload them in a month or two. That's the biggest difference right there. And continuing on at that point, you took it a step further and said, all right, you've seen what I've done. It's your turn now. Go ahead. You got it. You go ahead and you run it for the next 6 weeks. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to see you do it. I'm like, he said 8. It's been 8. Who counted though? It was supposed to be 6 weeks. It ended up going a little bit longer. It was contracted at 6. It ended up going to 8. But that, when I tell you about uncomfortable, that there is no level of uncomfort outside of that, because you actually had a staff of, I think, 17 people at one point. And you said, all right, I see what you need to do next. I keep telling you about this virtual staff you need to get, but you ain't getting it because that ain't clicked in your head for some reason. So I'm going to show you the power of a virtual staff, and I'm going to give you some training along the way. So we're going to build you out the next thing that you need. The thing is, I need you to run it, though. I need you to teach my team, because you have all the ideas. Because this is you talking to me. You have all the ideas about how to do it, but you don't have the time to do it all yourself. I have a team of the people that can help you get that, but you need to learn how to be a leader too at the same time. This is the entrepreneur putting, like I said, this is your gift. Putting pieces together, seeing everything that's needed all at one time. My team needs to learn how to level up to do better launches. You need to get your own team. You need to learn how to run your own team. You need to get your own launch set up. You have all the pieces in place. All I need you to do now is execute at this next stage. And all of that, all encompassing says, for the next 6 weeks, let's go do this. And I'm like, because you saw the vision.
If you can see how red your face turned, was like, like, it was so funny, because to be honest, it was like, okay, well, we have some downtime actually. We haven't gotten enough contracts. We're wrapping up this last launch. This is actually pretty good. I'll shut my team off. I'll cut them off so that you can have what you need, because ultimately the other part too that we talked about with hiring people is that you have to actually go through the hiring process, go through the training process, go in the get to know you phase of like, do you really actually do you do what you say you do? And then also, can you actually deliver? So that whole long process was like, let me just cut that for you right now. Mm-hmm. And since you already, and it's crazy because shortly before, Marlon has gotten his websites from us, because he kept saying, I want on Fiverr. I was like, okay, cool, you go on Fiverr. And that's another thing, I wasn't pushing my other products on Marlon. And I knew that he needed those things, but then I was like, okay, you ready? We could do it for you. We could do the logo. And so finally, after he didn't get what he needed, I stepped in again and I said, hey, you want to work for my team? So he had kind of an introduction to them already as to like, okay, wow, all right, I was meeting with Job for long before, these actual long hours before. And then you had to meet with them. And so now it was just like, now you know what they're like. Now you can nurture your team. And it's crazy because when you look at it, what coach will ever lend you their team?
Nah.
What coach will ever say to you, hey, go ahead, borrow my team? And literally, I loved it because it was so many times I'm like in the meeting at 6 o'clock and I'm not running it because I'm like, okay, I'm just here. But I would give my feedback and suggestions and, okay, this is what you need. Here's some parts I can see would actually enhance. However, with him taking over the team, I was like, okay, well, there came a point in time where he was like, this ain't working. And I'm like, well, who's running the team? So it's not the team. So it comes to the fact that, like, if he knows what is necessary, and it was that relationship that he had already had with John, my 11 imprint content director, she actually was very good at interrogating you and getting those things out of you and pulling that information out of you. And so it came down to like I think their third or fourth week, where it was that conversation of like, I'm gonna be honest with you, let's have this raw, authentic conversation. And it pivoted for him as to like, now I know what I need to do to really maximize the team. Because the other part is, he had an expectation just because I had a team, they knew him, or they knew what the work is that he wanted to be done. And it was more so the connection of like, okay, here's the learning curve we may have. Here's what I need to get done. Here's how I can support you and be of a support to you. And after that week, it was like, oh man, uphill. And it was the fact that like now he was able to experience that in a crunch time. Like I said, it being 8 weeks total, it was really an absolute moment for him to really show himself. Now I've got better direction on when I have my own team. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. This is how I want to nurture them. This is the space that I want to hold for them. If he would have just did that by himself, he wouldn't have gotten what he needed in 8 weeks. And that was the fact that like I realized, okay, now you're going to go through the hiring process. You've already done it with your boots on the ground. Now you've already facilitated and managed a team to actually create deliverables, and you've connected with them to build relationships with them. And now you can take that same information and apply it to your own business and enterprise. And so that's why it's like, even when I think back, you know, his coaching officially ended with me on the 4th of June, which was great because that's actually when I started with my mentor.
Right.
Great anniversary because I'm like 6/4/22.
Put it on the calendar.
But at the same time, I realized I was like, okay, we can still make sure that, you know, it's not a cut, a stop. Like, no, you don't need anything else. You're done. Boom, out the door. No, it was the next thing you needed. Because now that you have this, plus you've had those resources, now you can actually go to your next level with the coach or mentor that is going to transcend your journey. And now with all of the learning that he's had over the last 7 months, I would probably say no other coachee has had that journey. And it's simply and I mean, Farron is one of my coaches. She's actually my HR consultant agency, and she's my HR department externally. She's also a coachee. We've been collaborative partners since she started. And even just looking at the two of them, they've had different levels of growth in their enterprises that, you know, I couldn't even take that and put it to anyone else. And that is a beautiful part of me as a structurist and a strategist, is that every coachee will have their journey, nothing duplicated from the other. And I probably won't ever contract out my team again unless Marlon's like, hey, I need a second photo. I'm like, great, they already did it. All right, 2 weeks. Okay, good. You know, you know, it's the fact that like, you know, realizing how I've built trust with him the same as he's built trust for me. And it was because of his execution, his willingness, his intention, and his deliberate desire to grow his business, and also him and his dad. And that's the other part too, is like to watch them both evolve as professionals, as you know, in their business is like, man, it is so much more rewarding at the end of it, of seeing, you know, your impact, your influence, your molding, and then for them to just continue to grow. It's just like, man, I like proud moment every time. I'm like, oh, the walls is, oh my goodness.
No. So, it's been so rewarding though, because I think back to when you first had that whole idea. You said, all right, I got 10 staff members for you. I want you to get all of them, and you run your team with that. That's gone from 0 to 10 in a matter of 1 day, and now I didn't know like at least half of their names, let alone what they did. And you just start naming off people. I got Ja, I got Sadie, I got Carl, I got Reek. Like, okay, I'm over writing their names down. In the meeting, I'm over here literally. Okay, so let me see his name. Reed, I need you. Wait, who you work with? Paul. Okay, both of y'all work together, and I need y'all to do. So I'm literally in there, I feel like I'm a fish out of water right now, just squirming. Like I need to figure out how to survive out here. And so for the first, like you said, for the first 2 3 weeks, we got pretty much we didn't get a lot done. But I consider that like a big learning curve, not even for the team, but for me. Like I had the probably the biggest learning curve of everybody because, and this is why I really appreciate your 12-week year mentality of putting a deadline to it, because that made me have to figure this out. We have to do it quickly. We have to figure out how can we get past this learning curve quickly. And otherwise, it probably wouldn't have happened that fast because I don't know, because we wouldn't have the same fire to us, and we probably just would kept trying to figure it out the long way. But then after seeing 3 weeks of no progress, I'm like, either I'm about to quit or we got to figure this out. And it wasn't until, like you said, Gino coming to me and saying, I see problems right now that, and I can tell. She was probably most vocal that said why she wasn't figuring out what she wasn't accomplishing. Like I know I want to deliver for you, but I don't know how. And that was the light bulb moment for me that says I'm not being a good enough leader. I need to up-level my leadership skills and put people in position to be successful. And that was the key for me at that point, is like, I need to step in and be more involved in the initial round, because just like being involved with my team when they first got here on the ground, I had to continue to go out there every day for like the first 1 or 2 weeks to train them up. You have to make sure they know how to clean the car, make sure that they know how to check it in and check it out, make sure that they know how to address any tire issues when they happen. And they need to be trained on that stuff before you say, all right, the reins are off or the training wheels are off, you're gonna be on your own. I don't know why they didn't transfer immediately to work in virtual staff. I think was the thought process of they're already trained professionals. They've already done this all before and they can go do it. I don't really have to do too much training. So I was kind of there as a guide. But the thing was, this is something that's new. They haven't used this software before. They haven't seen my personal leadership style. They're still trying to learn me as I'm trying to learn them. So that was the key piece of learning, understanding that I had to be more involved in that initial sense. Because once, like you see today, they're producing. Like I'm jealous. I'm like, yo, whoever finna work with them next is finna get probably gonna be you. They finna get everything. Now I'm looking at what everybody's producing. I'm like, the results are going to be way faster, and it's going to look better than what they built for me, because of the fact that they've had the experience now. They've got to do a lot of testing with it. They have the coaching calls with myself. They have seen it all one time before. The first time you do something is way longer than the second, and then way longer than the third time. And so
that's why, you know what, you need the team to come back for. I'm like, okay, 2 weeks, that's all I got you. But you know, the beautiful part too is seeing you as a leader. And me, I have my own leadership style. I have my own leadership way, and I'm not a micromanager. Neither were you, but it was more of the fact that you had another connection to them versus, you know, and I did the same thing. It's like I have expectations, like this is what you need to do, figure it out, go ahead, trust me. You know, and I have that same mentality or same approach with the coachees and also my staff. And sometimes recognizing where they're thriving and being successful is also key, because even today when I was half asleep, because I was like, these 6:30 a.m. calls pay a lot. And I'm in the call and I'm watching them. And, you know, Marlon did something I didn't anticipate. He had an award ceremony, nothing that we talked about. I said, if you do really well, team, you can get compensation. And we didn't actually define what that looked like. And so, Marlon has been messaging me. He's like, if I had to get a team or if I had this, and then he's like sending me notes, and I'm like, all right, cool. So then he was like, yeah, everybody, award ceremony on Friday. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I was like, don't leave, because they almost like, yeah. And it's like, now it's like, what happened to Marlon? So Marlon is like, team, I'm not going to, I'll still pop in on your family meetings. I'll check in with you guys. But you could see how much they have grown, to another leadership style. And he was able to shine as a leader to let them know, how they can, be supported and also be encouraged to be the dynamic team that they are. And I will honestly say, as Marlon said, I'm a good connector. And so when I saw that there was a connection between them and Marlon, and then also between this project, I was realizing, uh, listen, this is an absolute experience. I would have never. I mean, I know the experience, and I was like, oh, this will help him. But I could not have ever come to this understanding and realization of how powerful it would have been for all of us. And Marlon mentioned, he's like, so you started with a team of 17, and I was like, yep, not 17 anymore. It's like in 1 week we lost like 3 people. And I was like, yeah, that's great. But at the same time, Marlon got to see it, and I was like, he was there, and I'm like, you got a full-fledged learning experience, hardcore, like resignations, what that looks like, firings, like all in the same, like your whole project. Like there was an immediate termination on one of them. There was one that I was like, we gotta let go. And it was just like Marlon is witnessing this. So it wasn't even like me hiding it, like, oh, well, this person's not here anymore. No, he was in the executive meeting. And I was like, okay, so this is how we have to offboard. This is how we need to get these documents, And so now he's seeing how to actually handle offboarding. We had the only thing that Marlon didn't participate. We did have interviews throughout the his process, because we were hiring people. And that was one thing I was like, what, Marlon should be here. But this was more so, the fact of seeing my team and knowing my team. Marlon said I contracted out 10 to him. And as he was saying in the beginning, he was trying to remember the team of like, what their names are. And so I knew when I started Hex Rock Media, which is my multimedia department, it was a yin and yang situation. And I always tell people the story, but Carl was like really creative, didn't follow instructions. Dennis was following instructions, didn't really have the creative spark. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hire you both. You guys could complement each other well. Make sure you communicate. I knew this about my team. I knew this about my department. And I talked to Marlon, and I'm like, yo, Marlon, how you feeling? He's like, I don't know about Carl. I mean, I don't really see him too much. It's okay. He's like, I don't want Carl anymore. I was like, okay, all right. And this was me knowing what he needed. And I was like, so later on in the project, he was like, Dennis doesn't really do this well. I was like, that's Carl. And so I was like, I said it. I was like, I know that this is his department, and they, and so he later on got to see why I paired up the specific individuals to him, though he didn't know. I was like, you really could benefit from the 10 I gave you, and in the middle of that, Hex Rock Media grew to 3. And the other member that was a part of Hex Rock Media was not in his contract, but then he was there and facilitated and fly on the wall, and he actually turned out to be, as the award was given, the hidden gem of the whole project. And it's that kind of, I know you need these things, and I know that my team is capable of it, but it's also you learning, on your own why I made the suggestion I made. And we had a few times in the meeting in the last few weeks where he was like, I can see why you said that.
That's the naivety of not really understanding what's being said when it's first said. And so you either have a choice to just believe in the process and just go with it until you see for yourself, or you can just go your own way and then got to go through I told you so later, which is typically what I've learned. That's been my fate in multiple situations, but this has been a learning experience to start recognizing that, which is why I love our name, which is Reba Solve. It's seeing opportunity, it's knowing how to solve problems that are, the answer's right in front of you. You just need to recognize it as an opportunity to solve that problem that you have for yourself. And so that could be financial problems, that could be leadership problems. Like the answers that we have was already in front of me. Like you give me the answers. I need to. So I'm the epitome of the first person that had to go through Reba Solve in the first place. And so that's why I'm very glad about that particular name. I know it just kind of brought out the brand name, but that is what we've been spending our time building up until this point, is that particular brand. And I'm very grateful to have gone through this entire journey. I think it kind of embodies everything that we had to go through in order to get it up and running. So that it's been just a blessing of a journey. And like I said in the very beginning, this is why y'all haven't seen me too much on social media. This is why I've been absent from the morning meetup for the past 8 weeks, because we've been going through this process of building everything up. And now we are at the point where we are at the climax of everything, of where everything has been built. We've gone through our journey. We've gone through the learning curve. We've gone through the ups and downs. We've gone through seeing the firings. We've gone through so much over these past 8 weeks. Now I think everybody is overall better as a result. I think that everybody's up level. I think the relationships have actually grown stronger as a result. I think at times they were coming apart. Now I think they're stronger than ever, and they're going to continue to grow now. And like I said, I'm glad just to be a part of that journey. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to be in that circle with y'all as we went through everything, because that exposure is very key for understanding how to operate in that same environment later. If it's me on the seat, not necessarily you.
And and like I said, I can't wait till you guys see what he's also been working on, because of, even just the name Rebasolve. He went through the name incubator.
Yep.
And it just, you can see just the evolution of it all, from inception to, results. And I can't wait to just watch and to see the amount of things. And it's beautiful because we have that impression, that imprint, and we can still see it, even long after, our coaching, and he's grown to his next mentor. We can still see the remnants of our impact on his journey. And
Right.
And I couldn't be prouder to have coached Marlon, and I couldn't have been prouder to have had him in my enterprise to work with my team, because it is absolutely no teacher or professor in college or no business person would have told you that if you coach someone so well that they in turn will then coach you, and then you will lend your team to them, and then they'll just make things 100,000% better. Like nobody in the world would have, not even Grant Cardone, not any of the big names will tell you that this would ever be this transpiring that would happen between a coach and their coachee. And so I am truly, truly grateful, because this, like I said, in the last 7 months, I've seen tremendous growth, not only in myself, my organization, but in you and your enterprise. And it is such a proud moment for me to look and see just the growth and the upward trajectory you're heading. And it makes me proud as a coach. I will honestly say that. So, yeah.
Most definitely. I'm proud to, like I said, have been part of the journey. I'm thankful for Tone, like you said earlier, about had nothing to do now with what we're doing, kind of actually, but at the same time, the whole purpose of me finding you was to try to get a joint venture contract out of you. Had nothing, and we got way much.
It's called the vehicle management, people. It's not a JV.
Exactly.
It's vehicle management, educate the terms.
I mean, we learned so much along that journey. So I'm just appreciative of having this experience, because I tell everybody, and this is something I'm holding true to myself forever. That's why I like that you say you're ready for your next coach, because I always tell people that life happens in seasons. And so you have to understand that every season is preparing you for the next one. I continue to relate it back to grade school. You can't stay in first grade forever. You have to, at some point, they're going to tell you that you graduated from me and you're going to the next grade level. The first grade teacher got you to second grade teacher is going to get you to third grade. You have to be willing and okay with continuing to grow. Don't forget the people that helped you get to your next level, but be willing to grow to that next person. And I'm thankful for everybody that's been a part of my journey, because that is really what's helping me get to where I'm ultimately trying to get to. And that's why I'm more than willing especially while and even after, to continue to get back to them, because I understand the impact that they're having on me along the way. So one thing, so like people will always know me in any community. I'm always giving back to whoever is actually running the community. Morning meetup, I'm a heavy note taker. In
Right.
the Matty J
Right.
community, I'm right. I'm a heavy note taker in there. In the Matty J community, same thing. Or always contributing my personal takes on stuff. And with you trying to figure out any type of way I can help you out, telling you about getting with your coach, helping your team out. I'm always trying to find a way to add value to people who add value to me, because that's how impactful they've been for me. So I always try to reciprocate whatever I'm being given.
And it's funny you mentioned Maddie J, and shout out to Maddie, because we definitely do a lot of contributing to the Cars and Bars, the car rental game platform. And it was up until a couple of weeks ago that I was like, Marlon, you gonna do this here presentation with me? And he rolls his eyes, because I'm like, he was like, I'm not doing no more presentations. I'm not meeting with nobody. And I was like, and it was so funny, because I felt, not that I knew I had privilege to his schedule, but it was more so like, hey, Marlon, here, this is a good idea for you to jump in here and be on this here. And so we got to actually participate together with shout out to 30 Day
Dealer in here.
30 Day Dealer.
Yep.
And Nicole, she actually was a part of our presentation to really structure your business, how to get your cause in your business name the real way, right?
Correct.
And so because of our coaching journey, because I knew what he was doing, I saw what he was evolving from and to, I was like, this is only fitting for you to be on this participatory conversation. Like, and so it was like, Marlon was like, I'm not doing no extra. I'm like, he's like, I'm trying to do this over here with your team. And I'm like, yeah, no, I got it. I'm just we'll help you. We'll record it we'll do the PowerPoint presentation. You just got to show up. He's like, okay, all right, fine. And, and just seeing that, even his participation, he was able to add value in a space that very few people are talking about. And, and that's why even now when he is talking about his experience on Turo, his experience as a power host, his experience as, one of the stronger connects at the International Car Rental Association.
You
him
talk
being
about that. My goodness.
With
there. the cussing out I took to get there. Oh,
I can run your resume. You know why? Because I was a part of it. That's why I'm like, I can sit here, run down your accomplishments because you executed. And that's another part too, is like, you want to know your receipts, your coach will know your receipts. Right. And that's why it's like, if I sit here and I say of all the things, because I remember the time when he was pushing back, the one time we spent 2 hours in the car, I was like, this is the most stupidest thing I've ever heard you say to me. What do you mean? Go book that flight. Go, and it was, it was a stern talking to. If you guys are following him and you have access to his friends list so that you can get the most immediate content, you would know when he was at the International Car Rental Association and he was actually, reporting almost as much content, but he's now getting this information that many of these rental host industry enthusiasts are not having. Man. And I realize I'm a canceller of noise because we have so much oversaturation we have to deal with.
Right.
And now knowing that he's getting you straight to the source of like, guys, don't ruin your credit. You can do this and you can do that instead. This is where I elevate him, where it's like, nah, man, nobody's talking about this. Everyone's talking about, let's run the play. Here, you got a strategy. Let's do it. And so that's the other part too, is like, thank you for allowing me to push you in places where it's like you wasn't normally going to have a conversation or talk about it or be there. But then because I actually was able to convey the value of what it would do for your platform, you assisted and said, you know what, I'll meet you. And many a times, him looking for the resources for him to level up to become the rent, because that was the other part of his roadmap. His coaching roadmap was to become a legitimate rental agency to franchise and to be purchasable, which is crazy because he's going to have to connect to my mentor at some point to go ahead and structure his business for purchase later on. And so now, me being a plug, and this is again where, it ties in because of all of what he said on his roadmap. Mm-hmm. And so now when I have your roadmap, I'm like, I know your map. This is when I force you to go to the Car Rental Association conference. This is when I'm actually like, hey, you need to go ahead and have this conversation. And everything ties in because he ultimately has this desire that I know, and I can help him with connecting and providing the resources and the conversation.
No, and that, I mean, all of that was just so pivotal too. I just, man, because I would hear like people would plant seeds, and then I think you just like enforce it and be like, no, why are you even hesitating about this? Like, I can't tell you that there were so many pivotal moments in this journey, which is why it's been so life changing. Because there was like one thing after the next that was like, yo, this. I'm so glad you were here for this moment because that helped me propel to the entire next one. That going to the International Car Rental Show, that I can't tell you how much that's just changed the game for me and the actual business of it all. I can't because I see so many people that are running the Turo play, and that's the extent of it. Like that, we're stopping there. We stop at Turo. Let's pivot to the next business. Let's pivot to the next side hustle. Like no, there's way more beyond that, and a lot of people want to go beyond that, but they have nobody that they can look up to that actually is at going to the next level and paving a way for them. And so that going to the International Car Rental Show gave me that vision of what it looks like at the next level. And I wouldn't have been there had I not had that stern talking to before. I literally felt like I got cussed out that day. Like, you want to be a rental car agency? They're having a rental car agency festival over here. Why do you not see this as a good idea? I don't get it, but I'll take the luxury of telling you go. You need to book your ticket. This is what you're telling me. Book your ticket. I don't care how soon it is. It's 2 days away. It's plenty of time. It means doesn't mean there's still a chance. That doesn't mean don't go. It means there's still a chance. Go. So I'm very grateful for all of that because that literally has pushed me over the hump to the entire next level. And I'm super excited for what we have coming up because that's going to be unveiling the next part of the journey that we're going to be taking people on, as opposed to just being the Turo person, being the Turo host, and leaving it at that. So I'm just grateful for the entire journey.
Man, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful to watch it, and I'm grateful for you all, those of you who have been on our live to witness this conversation. Because as you all know, I've asked Marlon, on various platforms, if you know me, to show his skill set, to come out of his shell of comfort and be more public, because ultimately Marlon is, he's on the cusp of actually being one of the industry leading experts on what he's doing. And when I see that, it's like a coach is absolutely going to not only know that you can win the game, but you can also take the team to higher heights, and you can influence the community that supports the team. And that's what I see from Marlon as a coach, is that it's not about what I did, because I'm not the hero in his story. He is. I was just the sidekick over here giving a few kicks here and there and be like, hey, you could do this. Yes, go team, go, right? And it was just more so like, when he stepped into it and he realized, that's when he saw the magic that I already knew existed. And so when I say this is, you guys being tapped into a source, this is the absolute resource. If you're in the car rental space, if you're in the business development space, if you are in the building space, the personal actually growth space, Marlon is a key individual that can influence great change on your journey. And I say that not because I'm biased. I say that because I've witnessed it. And so he is transformed as a leader, and as me as a coach, I can speak on that because again, and Marlon knows because he'd be asking me, he was like, are there coaches that you don't meet with? I was like, there was only one appointment in 6 months. I was like, you there? And so, and it's the fact that, like, now the memory I have of him was that one appointment, right? But with Marlon, I can truly say his investment of time, and his investment of energy, as well as his commitment to his future and his journey, was evident and apparent from day one. And so, like I said, I could not foresee what today would have been for the two of us, but I definitely can say that in witnessing and being participatory shotgun to his journey, y'all want to tap in. Y'all definitely want to tap in, and y'all want to lock in, because when he gets to the point where y'all can't actually talk to him, because that's gonna happen.
Oh, okay.
And you want to make sure you one of the few and the first that Marlon has you under his wings, because it comes to the space of when you want to do the tour play, when you want to do the private rental play, when you want to develop your business, you want to become a coach, you want to support and mentor your communities. I can tell you firsthand, he is a leader in that space, and an authentic one. And that's the other part too. I'm not all about, salesy gimmicks and all of that stuff. And I'm not about, making sure you guys just get into the community, but actually being influenced by the content creator, the actual the mentor, the coach. And that's when I can say you guys are going to be of a quality experience with Marlon, especially the Walzes. So yeah.
Yeah, it's much appreciated. I think this is why I'm glad we had this conversation, because it's like this is the graduation ceremony right now. It's just like the conversation. This is like when they say speech. Like this is the speech part. Was like, okay, we've been on the grind. We've been in the lab getting ready for this moment, and so now this is like the coming out party. Like, okay, so we've done all the prior preparation, and now get ready to see the next level. So I'm very excited for what's to come, and I'll just give a lot of just a lot of special tribute to you, and just all of your cheerleading. Look, you have some forceful cheerleading tactics, but like it's not just go team. It's like, are you gonna go soon? So I appreciate all of that though, because all those pushes have led to where we are today, and so I'm just grateful for the entire journey. I can't say thank you enough. So much appreciated, and this is why I want to say the importance of having a coach is because they get up you to the next level, but you have to be ready to receive. That is my entire summary of today's conversation. You got everybody, even if you were a coach, you need to have your own coach. But you have to be ready to receive the next level and be okay with getting uncomfortable, because that uncomfort is where your ultimate success lies, at outside of your comfort zone. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Marlon. I appreciate you.
Yep. Thanks for everybody who's been tuning in just for this whole live. If you stuck around the entire live, shout out to you. And I don't even have a call to action or anything for today. I just wanted to let this be known. I want this to sit on my timeline as the pivotal moment. So I have different pivotal moments on my timeline already. But I want this to live as one of those times where you're going to see a transformation of what I'm creating as I go along this journey. So just keep in mind that this is a pivotal day for me, and I'm excited to see what comes. I'm excited to share with y'all what comes next. So stay tuned for much more.
Shout out to you, Lakita, and I think it's Made by John. For you guys sticking in. You've been in the whole time, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, shout out to all y'all for sticking through the whole time. Is your team still in here too? I can't see him. I can't click on that to see who's here.
After I was like, I seen the name pop up. So
right.
I definitely I want to say to you, as a coach, finding a coach, the importance of finding a coach is making sure that you guys fit. Regardless of whatever coach is out there, there is a coach for you. Not every coach will, some may sell you and all of that, and that sounds great. But when it's your coach, you'll know. And so you want to trust your feelings and trust your internal connection that this feels right for you, because ultimately, no matter the investment, it's going to feel right, and you'll see results because you connect to your coach. Mm-hmm. So support your connection, support your the actual feel of being connected to the coach, and then do the work. As Marlon mentioned earlier, like, when me finding my mentor, he knew I was ready for him. Yes. I was like, I wrote him a dissertation, and Marlon was like, "This is you," and I was like, "Say less."
Understood the assignment. Yes.
Say less. So I say that because even now he's doing exactly what I'm doing to Marlon, which
Mm-hmm.
means I speak up Marlon just as much as I'm a mouthpiece in his mouth
That's right.
to speak me up, you know. And so when you connect with your coach, you will know, and you will absolutely make sure that that relationship is going to be one of nurturement and budding and thriving for not only just you,
Mm-hmm.
but for your coach as well.
Yep.
And so honor that when finding your coach, interview them, follow them, listen to them, participate with them, have a conversation with them, and you'll know your connection as to when and who that's going to be for you on your journey. So
Yep.
that's the last thing I wanted to make sure to wrap up and let you guys know. Be diligent on making sure that you invest the right energetics and time into the coach, and they will pour back into you.
Yes, I love it. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So I want everybody here to make sure y'all follow Credit Coach Leah. That's coachyourcredit.coach. If you're on Instagram, make sure y'all give her a follow. Stay tuned because I'm sure her entire social media brand is going to up level now. We didn't work with her team, so be on the lookout in probably 2 weeks because the timeline will be a lot faster now. Now that your team is well equipped. Shout out to
You hear that,
John
Josh?
too. I
You
see
hear
her
that, Josh?
too. All right.
You hear that, Josh?
I know that they're going to be on the rocket for sure. I'm excited to see what they are capable of putting out now that they have the skill set to do it. So I'm excited for everything that's to come. So stay tuned for much more. And I thank you for coming on the call with me. Thank you everybody else for staying tuned. And I will talk to y'all all very, very soon. See y'all later.